This is a podcast or something like that. Yo, 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 what is up, my fellow people? What's up, humans and other species? I think the plural of species is speech. Capiche? Welcome to the Verbal Journal, episode 29, I believe. I'm not checking until I'm posting. That's the new rule here, and we are sticking to it. Welcome back to the Verb Journ pod. Lots to talk about today. Don't pay attention if the title is like, the nothing episode or something like that. I did that last time, and I think it dissuaded a few people from listening to the episode, which is bizarre. Very bizarre and unconscionable. So, don't worry about the title. If it says like the nothing episode part 2 or something like that, don't even pay attention to that. We have a lot to talk about. And it's intentionally misleading to prove a point, to prove a point about the attention economy that we currently live in. I believe in something about the invisible hand. The invisible eye, maybe, of the attention economy. Okay, so welcome back. A few things to talk about. Why did I write this down to talk about? Patreon's bad audio samples. Yeah, so it's really funny. Patreon has this issue where you don't know this because you're subscribed to the Patreon, but if anyone wasn't subscribed, and I know you might be a YouTube member listening to this. I'm sorry, this doesn't really apply to you. Okay, this is but maybe you've experienced this. If you ever went to my Patreon or anyone's Patreon, I believe, and try to listen to an audio preview like before you subscribe, for some reason, the audio previews that Patreon plays are so low quality that it's like, it would be shocking. Like, it's hard for you to imagine just how low quality the samples are until you listen. And so I turned off audio samples. I didn't realize I could do that at first. So I was like emailing them and I'm like, what the fuck, y'all? Like, how can you fix this? Like, no one's going to want to subscribe to a Patreon when the audio samples make it sound like I'm uploading podcasts on like a fucking Game Boy or some shit. And I don't know if that's a good metaphor exactly, but it's hilariously bad. It sounds like it's coming through like a speaker that's like underground and like 12% working. Like it's just so low bits. It's really like so few bits. So anyways, I turned off audio previews. Not really worth talking about. Just a funny little Patreon. I like to throw shade at the platforms that I post things on. It's a good business practice. Okay, so some interesting updates in my life. Last pod, we talked about the Robert Rauschenberg book I was reading. It's a biography of an artist I was not previously aware of. The biography is called Off the Wall, and it's by Calvin Tompkins, and it was extremely good. It definitely, it wasn't even just about the artist. It was about the whole community of the late 40s and specifically the 1950s and 60s in New York largely, but other places as well, and the abstract expressionist adjacent people and all that. And it got into all kinds of people, that kind of asshole, Andy Warhol or whatever he is. And then who is the other? Oh, yeah, Marcel Duchamp, like an amazing artist. Really cool to hear more about him. And lots of other artists. And so I learned a lot about Jasper Johns and other people, very interesting stuff. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And it was an amazing book, and it inspired me enormously. I've been painting a lot more, doing all kinds of different painting. So at the same book sale, I got a book about Paul Klee, I think it's pronounced Klee, Klee. And this one's by someone named Gualtieri di San Lazzaro. And it's translated, I believe, from the Italian. Is it not? Translated from the Italian by Stuart Hood. Now, the comments I'm going to make about this, I do not believe have anything to do with the translation, and I love reading translated works. If you know Paul Klee's work, and I'm sorry if I mispronounce it, but it's very special, very unique, and very interesting, and it's very good, and I like it, and I've always liked it. However, I have never imagined that a biography could make me dislike an artist rather than like them more. It's horribly written. Okay, so it's this book from 1957, which I don't even hold on. When did Paul Klee die? He died in 1940, and this book is from 1957. I do not think. Now, I could be wrong about this. I do not think the author ever met him. Wow, it's funny. I'm looking at the back now. It says, San Lazaro writes simply, feelingly, and with authority. Yeah, he does write, I guess, with authority, but not in a good way. I'm going to give you some examples, y'all, but this is one of the worst biographies I've ever read. I read 50 pages of it, and I had to stop. It was making me really, really dislike Paul Klee, who I think might have been a little bit of a self-involved asshole. I mean, based on what I was reading. So anyways, okay, so it's just hilarious to finish. I realize this is sort of like being in a class, like when you're in a class and you like the fact that I'm reading 2 books, and I'll tell you, I've moved on to a third one. Biographies of artists. It's almost like I'm in a class on like biographies of artists. You know, it's very interesting. I don't usually read like one type of book and then read another of that like type. You know what I mean? Maybe I'll read another book by the same author or this or that. But like to read the same type of book is very interesting and cool to compare. So it's written, this Paul Klee book by Gualtieri di San Lazaro. It has nothing of what I liked about the Robert Rauschenberg book, because it does not like situate the artist in context very well at all. It's okay. So let me give it an example of like the thing I had to basically stop reading. It quotes Paul Klee's diary a lot, which is interesting, but like, I don't know. It feels like you never actually met the guy and you're just reading his diary, but also there's really bad stuff in the diary. Like here it says, here, I'll start with the paragraph and then read the quote from the diary. Although sometimes he had to admit that his work was not going well, at other times he unhesitatingly stated that he had succeeded in forcing nature to conform to his style. And then this is a quote from Klee's diary. Everything becomes Klee. Everything was Klee already, but only in intention. As we see, I'm sorry. I got confused. Just the brief quote from his journal was, everything becomes Klee. Now, like, I don't understand how you could write that, right? Like, that's so just weird and self-involved. But I don't really know if I'm getting a good look at Klee, because the author is really, really weird. I'll give you a few more examples. There's this line early on that Paul Klee's sister, just the author is like describing his family life and says that his sister had no influence on him whatsoever, despite being devoted to him, is the quote. And it's like very, very weird. I'll try to find the exact quote, but that's exactly what it was, that she had no influence on him. And I'm like, wait, did you just say that his sister had no influence on him? Like, not a huge influence or something. Okay, here's the quote. There was another child of the marriage, Matilda, whose portrait by Klee is well known, but she had no influence on her brother, although she was devoted to him. Heredity, upbringing, and his own personality made an artist of Klee. So this is on page 3. And then it goes on to say, in his case, his need to escape was merely an extension of his personality and not the expression of a revolt against a milieu in which he lived, as it was in the case of many other artists. That just sounds so oversimplistic and like a weird false binary. And like, okay, his need to escape was merely an extension of his personality. Like, what? How is that helpful? Okay, you're saying he wasn't revolting against a milieu in which he lived. Okay, I mean, okay. It seems like a little oversimplified to just state that, and too authoritative to reference what they said on the back. But I'm sorry, saying his sister had no influence on him, although she was devoted to him, is one of the stupidest sentences I've ever read. What? First of all, how is your sibling going to not have an influence on you? And second of all, if they're devoted to you, that sounds like it would have a pretty big influence on you. Okay, so yeah, just a very unhealthy view of people and artists, that he's like this special snowflake who like is not influenced by his sister. Like, what? Okay, but the worst thing is how the book like completely begins. Literally the beginning, okay? So the beginning of this book, the you know how they do like not chapter titles but like almost like sub-chapter titles? I don't know, it just opens with a sub-chapter title. It's not like an actual chapter title. So like the sub-chapter title is The Little Arab. Okay? That's how it starts. The Little Arab. Let me just read what it says, okay? This is the beginning of a 300-page biography about a famous artist, okay? The Little Arab. The son of a Swiss mother and a German father, Paul Klee was a wonderful epitome of the physical and psychological characteristics of both his parents. It would be difficult, indeed almost impossible, to be more German and yet more Swiss than he. But some distant trace of the Mediterranean had left its mark on him, both physically and spiritually. In photographs taken when he was a child, he has the secretive, sensual face of a little Arab. What? As an adult, he was always to feel strongly the lure of the Mediterranean. The thin line of the beard running straight from the corners of his mouth, his thick lips and dark penetrating eyes are characteristically African. And because of this remote influence, which has never been accurately defined by his biographers, his family on his mother's side, this is a hyphen, his family on his mother's side is suspected of North African connections. He was himself to become African. From Africa came the mystery, the incantation which seemed to be the source of his last works. So, okay, I guess Paul Klee, traveled to Africa. Like, I haven't gotten to the end and I'm not really interested anymore, but like, okay, I'm assuming that is like foreshadowing that he lived in Africa for a period of time, which is sort of not. I mean, I guess I could see starting the book that way, but like the idea of looking at his physiognomy and going, wow, he looks a little Arab. And then like the only evidence of that is that like his mom's side is suspected to have Mediterranean like family, blood and whatever. It's like, okay, like, was that the most important thing that we had to start the book with? That he looks a little Arab? And then you can tell the biographer is so proud of himself. He's like, actually, no other biographers have pointed out that he looks a little Arab. Like, I thought, okay, when I read that subheadline, The Little Arab, I was already like, what the fuck? But my hope reading that was like, okay, they're gonna like that. I mean, that must have been his nickname at a certain point or something, right? Which, like, maybe it was and I just didn't get that far. I don't think it was, though. I think the author just came up with that and was like, he looks a little Arab. I'm going to call him a little Arab. Like, what? It's the weirdest way to start the book. Okay, this fucking Swiss German guy looks a little ethnic to you. Great. Let's make that the fucking first thing we mention in a book about his life. Or even, like... Just remarkable. And so that Robert Rauschenberg book was by, as I said, Calvin Tompkins, who was a successful New Yorker journalist. He also wrote a book I wanted to mention. He wrote a book that I want to read called Living Well is the Best Revenge. And that's an amazing title, given, how much we explored revenge with the Better Call Saul videos. I really want to read that. Living Well is the Best Revenge. That sounds really, really good. But yeah, just like a New Yorker writer, and like I think the chapters of this Calvin Tompkins book were adapted from New Yorker articles he wrote and stuff. And like, look, I don't read the New Yorker and stuff, but like, as a person who writes myself, like, I know that to get published in the New Yorker is like a profound accomplishment. I don't assume everyone is super, everyone who gets published in the New Yorker is probably not my favorite taste. Like, it's not like I would enjoy all their writing, but like, you got to have chops and you got to really, and like, there's like accountability and oversight. Like, was there an editor for this Paul Klee like biography? Oh, here's the funny thing. It's published by Frederick A. Prager Publishers from New York. So it's not spelled the same as Dennis Prager, but, and the author, okay, Gualtieri di San Lazzaro is editor of XXECS. I can't pronounce this. An international review of modern art published in Paris. So it's like, yeah, like that compared to the New Yorker, just totally different audiences, like no accountability. Like, I don't know. It's just ridiculous. Like, I don't know. Yeah. So there was no sense of storytelling. It was just like the Rauschenberg book was chronological too. And it actually started with it started at the end and then it started at like the middle of him winning this big award. And then it built up to it. It was like perfectly told. It was like, it drew me in so well. But like, there's a thing about writing where you just trust the writer or you don't. Okay. And I'm sorry, but if someone says, first of all, the little Arab thing is like, what? That's why you mentioned that? Because you think he looks a little ethnic? Like, what? But like, then the whole his sister had no effect on him thing. I'm like, I don't trust this. Like, give me any reason to believe you. Like, I guess he must have like, but the thing is, y'all, I think Paul Klee also was an asshole. Like I think the biographer did a bad job, but like all the details of him were really, and his journal entries were like weird. It was just, yeah, it just made him seem like a really kind of self-involved guy. Anyways, it was like hagiography. Okay. Comes off like a total dick. Okay. But now I've moved on to a Max Ernst book. I've had this Max Ernst book for the longest time, and I didn't even really realize it was a biography. You know what I mean? I like never really looked at anything but the painting. So it is a biography, and I'm going to be reading this. And so far, it's really good. I just made it through the part where he was in World War One. Yeah, I mean, there's like... Yeah, and this book starts funny. It's called Max Infant Jesus. But like there's a specific story of him running away as a toddler and briefly going on a train on his own and like meeting these religious people, and they were like, "Oh, it's little Jesus." And then his dad, who was a artist, like painted a painting of Max Ernst as like baby Jesus. So like it was, there's a reason to start that way. It's not just a random, "Oh, isn't it funny that he looks ethnic?" It's like So yeah, good way to start it. He, it's a little hard to tell with like old stuff. He was born in 1891, and like they have some quotes by him and stuff. It's a little hard to tell whether someone's pretentious or just living 100 years ago sometimes. So there's a little bit of that, but it's definitely not the Paul Klee level. It's definitely like he seems like he had friends. Paul Klee, it like seemed like, I don't know, I probably just didn't get to the point where he had friends, but like it just seemed like he didn't have friends and was like, and like treated women weird, and like I don't know, like wasn't really given context. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm really into reading about these artists. It's been really inspiring to me. It's made me just like be so much more motivated to do art. I have so many paintings that I've been working on. Last night I went to a party, and it was like a really fun party with a bunch of people, and we all dressed up, and we're just hanging out. We dressed up in like sort of like cowboy theme, saloon theme. I found some stuff. I had like a white button down shirt with like a bandana, and then I had jeans, and then I had boots that my family member gave me from like the 80s that are like cowboy boots. It was pretty sick. And then that kind of worked. Friend gave me a hat later on in the night. Cowboy hat. It was very chill. But yeah, actually it was at a place, that's like also kind of a thrift store. So I actually bought, canvases at the end of the night. I asked the person running the store, I'm like, "Do you have art supplies?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I mean, we got this and this and canvases." I'm like, "Oh, canvases?" He's like, yeah, they're way like hidden in the basement." I'm like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, I would check them out." I bought 4 canvases with paintings on them, or one of them has like a print on it. And I'm just painting over them. So really, really cool. Great deal. And I've just really enjoyed painting. It's a great way to spend my time. It's a great way to relax and just have a good thing to work on that feels valuable. And I'm enjoying sharing my art with other people. I also went to a friend's art gallery showing recently. And I bought a painting. It wasn't like, wasn't like thousands of dollars. It was like a lot less than that. But I wanted to support my friend's art, so I did that, and so that feels good. And I'm just going to be doing a lot more painting and enjoying my life. I think I might have mentioned this on the podcast. I sort of forget what I talked about on the last episode, but I'm working on getting a new office space as well. So that seems to be moving forward, where I'm hopefully going to have even better office space for my work, my therapy work. Than I have one now that's fine, but I want to get one that's like good. And so I think I found one that's really good. Just like feels more private, more professional, and yeah, like certain other things kind of like will be better. And convenient and stuff. But yeah, so I'm very pumped about that. Work's been feeling really good. Had my ups and downs, but I've been sort of feeling good. And then, yeah, so painting a lot. And that's pretty much what I'm up to. Yeah. What else? So, okay, let's go into the segment. So, good comment of the week on the YouTube channel. Someone on the Breaking Bad video commented, "Damn, nice vid," which I thought was very nice. I know someone with like a few thousand subscribers or something. So very nice to get a comment like that. That's pretty much how I would comment. I say damn a lot. So I'd be like, damn, nice vid. So that felt very good. Misunderstanding comment of the week. Well, there's two because I just got one today that I'll mention. No, it's not worth mentioning. Never mind. So this was funny. A few days ago, someone commented on the Portlandia video, quote, "I guess you'd say nature is systemic sexism too, ? Which is genuinely very hard to parse. I mean, I get that they seem to take issue with my political views, and so their funny way of approaching that is by asking if I would say nature is systemic sexism, so systemically sexist nature. Now, I have no idea what in the Portlandia video would have possibly made them say that. I don't know. Maybe I referred to systemic racism. I think I did, right? Because I was talking about the protests in Portland. Oh, they must have reacted to that. Don't believe I said anything about nature being systemically racist. So it's just a very, very interesting, hard to understand and hard to view as understanding comment. No, I don't think nature is systemically racist or systemically sexist. No, I don't believe that's a concept that makes sense. It's not really how things work. Sexism and racism, I would say, are not natural. I mean, they are products of natural impulses that are hijacked by social structures and reinforced through social structures. Obviously, everything we do on some level is natural in the sense that it comes from natural processes, but I somehow don't feel like I'm maybe overthinking that comment. Okay, chess update of the week is actually a big one. Well, there are some really good games going on. There's a World Cup tournament that's quite good, but interesting news that I wanted to talk about is LeChess.org, which is the site I use for my chess, and I am a LeChess streamer, actually. They pay me $2 million a month. They're really dope. And the reason I made the jump from chess.com to LeChess is, well, chess.com is always trying to sell you stuff, and it's really annoying. But LeChess is totally free, and they have really good politics. Like, they're just openly just much more radical. I mean, chess.com is not radical at all. LeChess is actually willing to take political stances about things in ways that are useful. So they posted 3 days ago an article called "Breaking the Silence," saying LeChess will no longer cooperate with the U.S. Chess Federation and the St. Louis Chess Club. Now, why? I'll briefly discuss this. In February, chess commentator and author Jennifer Shahade publicly accused Grandmaster Alejandro Ramirez of sexual misconduct. Her allegations sparked a swift and severe backlash against Ramirez, who was forced to resign from the St. Louis Chess Club before being permanently banned by the United States Chess Federation. Yeah, absolutely sick allegations. But the allegations, they say, also exposed apparent failures at U.S. Chess and St. Louis Chess Club, yet neither organization has faced any serious scrutiny or accountability for their handling of the case. That's basically the summary. I'm not going to go into all the details. You can find it on LeChess's website. I love it. I love that LeChess takes a stand and really says, you know what, they looked into all the details, And they have extremely clear proof that U.S. Chess and St. Louis Chess Club, which is the biggest U.S. chess club because it's funded by this really rich guy, Rex Sinkefeld, but that they have not in any way upheld their responsibility to protect chess players. And, you know, they can't protect everybody, obviously, but when there are reports about a dangerous chess player, you know, just because they're titled as a grandmaster, they cannot be given extra leeway to repeatedly put people in harm's way. So I thought that was extremely cool that Lichess came out with that. You know, chess is like historically this male dominated sport, obviously. And it's like finally that's really moving in the right direction, but there's always reactionary, people who will not go with the flow of enhanced sort of like, safety and, not really understand the importance of safety in chess. You know, women are definitely like put in dangerous positions at some of these chess tournaments if like they're the vast minority of people, and if they don't even feel like their voice can be heard, if something happens and they feel like they can't even talk about it, then it just creates a more and more dangerous environment for everyone, and it's horrible. We all like the huge theme with my channel and everything I talk about is like accountability is really essential. I mean, it's like, I don't believe humans are inherently bad or good. I believe that we are incentivized through different incentives to pursue different ends, and we need accountability. You know, we need like structures, organizations, communities. We need accountability from these, from the people around us. And it feels good to enforce accountability, and it feels good to be enforced by accountability because it makes us better people. And so anyone who sort of like shies away from accountability, that's a huge red flag. Anyone who, you know, thinks accountability has a negative sort of tinge to it, huge red flag. All right, let's go to the mailbag segment. Let's see if anyone wrote into the mailbag. You can write into the mailbag at verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. That's verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. Let's see. Okay. Yes. Okay, no one wrote in. Okay. So no one's written in, so we don't have anything to say about that, actually. There's not really anything I can say when no one writes in. Next segment, my fantasy baseball league. So I didn't make the playoffs, but I am crushing, and I am absolutely dominating this matchup this week. Last day of the matchup today, I am up 60 points, which is like 3 really good pitching outings or something like that. You know, like 3, like it's a lot of points. And I'm beating someone who is making the playoffs. Their record is 11-6. Mine is 8-9, and I'm crushing them. So, you know, just kind of something to think about. You know, something to think about when a team doesn't make the playoffs. Think about, well, maybe they're actually very good. You know, maybe they're being, you know, unfairly shafted, and they're actually very good. Is something I think you should think about sometimes. Okay, screen time report. So my weekly screen time report is a very exciting part of the podcast, and one of the reasons we bring in so many listeners every week. So let me pull that up for you. Screen time report, it is under what? It is under digital well-being and parental controls, okay? And my average was 49 minutes a day last week, only 4 minutes more than the week before his average. So 49 minutes a day on my phone, YouTube by far the most, messages and Spotify app. I listened to a little bit of Spotify. YouTube, I was watching some vids on my phone, I guess. I don't know what they were, but they were probably good. If you like watching YouTube videos on your phone, write in, let me know why and how. And all right, so that's all for the segments this week. I don't think I had much else to talk about. I think I'm going to keep it short this week. Yeah, feel free to write in. Let me know what kind of art you've been working on. Oh, I guess I could give an update. I talked about the fiction that we wrote. So Snaps had the great idea of doing some fiction. We all responded to a prompt or sort of interpreted a prompt in our own ways and wrote some short stories. and I shared mine, and Snaps and Died Famous shared theirs. And I really enjoyed reading theirs. It was so interesting to read different responses to the same prompt, and we all have such different styles. It was super fun. So yeah, we're going to be talking about them in the Discord and probably doing more of that in the future. So yeah, feel free to write into the podcast. Let me know what art you've been doing, how you've been inspired, and what you're enjoying doing. And I'm going to call it for today. Short one, and over and out. Goodbye. This is a podcast or something like that.